Yeah, and of course, a very wonderful afternoon to you out there once again, under the sound of my voice. It's the 20th day in the month of May 2022. And of course, 2:22 p.m. Nigerian time in the studios of King 103.9 FM. Of course, it's a beautiful Friday afternoon. Time once again to bring you another exciting edition of Word and Review on this dial, King 103.9 FM. Yeah, apologies a little bit, starting a little bit behind schedule. Apologies, it was due to circumstances beyond, of course, my control here. Yeah, my name is Ajibola Samuel. Once again, you are listening to King 103.9 FM, and this is Word and Review, the program that is airing right now. And of course, on Word and Review, if you happen to be joining for the very first time, we bring you the news that made the headlines in the international scene. We bring you all the news that emerged outside of the shores of the country Nigeria. We'll break it down for you, give you an analytical and of course a periscopical look so as to have a perfect understanding of what's going on around the world. Yeah, my name once again is Ajibola Samuel, and of course today we're going to be bringing you the news that made the headlines in the international scene throughout the course of this week. Yeah, moving forward quickly, we start from the African scene, of course, before we go to other part of the world. Starting from the African scene once again. Last week on the show, I did a little bit slow down and of course a preview of the 2022 Somali presidential election. Of course, the election that has been talked about for quite a lot of months now. I mean, it's been postponed about 4 or 5 times. The last president, that's talking about Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, popularly known as Abdullahi Farmajo, his presidential term ought to have come to an end on the 8th of February 2021. But unfortunately, because of the inability of the country to actually hold elections, he was still on power, and of course his tenure was extended. They had to wait till the members of parliament, of course the House of People, and of course the House of Parliament, that's the Senate House in Somalia, they had to wait till all of them had been voted for and of course inaugurated before elections could be held in that particular country. And just like I said last week on the show, the election in Somalia is very peculiar because it's not like the election you know in different countries. For example, in Nigeria, everybody has his or her own PVCs, and of course on the days of the election we go to the polling booth, we cast our votes, and of course our vote counts. But in Somalia, they do not organize their own election that way. It is the members of the House of Parliament and of course members of the Senate, about 275 people, that would actually determine the fate of that country. They are the one that will cast the ballots that will bring forth the government and of course the president that will be in charge for the next couple of years. Okay, time is fast spent already. Moving forward quickly, the election held on the 15th day in the month of May 2022. That was on Sunday. And of course, it was a very tight contest. Quite a lot of former presidents were contesting. Some former ministers were contesting. Some presidents of the autonomous regions in Somalia also contested. And of course, at the end of the proceedings, it boiled down to the battle between these two young men, the former president and of course the former president. Once again, like I said, the former president and of course the former president. At the end of the proceedings, Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud actually emerged victorious, representing the UPDP party, and of course he defeated Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, popularly known as Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo. Okay, what actually makes this interesting was that back in 2017, these two young men, or these two people, were actually shaking hands, and it was Abdullahi Farmajo, who happened to be the president from 2017 to the last election that was held, who shook the hands of Hassan. So he took power from Hassan back in 2017. And right now, Hassan has actually taken power back from him in 2022. So Hassan Sheikh Mohammed was actually a former president in that country from 2012 up until 2017, when Abdullahi Farmajo took over as the president of the country, and now Hassan Sheikh has actually taken over as the 10th president in that country and has taken power from Mr. Abdullahi Farmajo. At the end of the proceedings, talking about the total number of electoral votes garnered, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed garnered a total number of 214 votes, and total 66.05% of the total votes of the members of parliament that actually casted their elections. And of course, Mr. Mohammed Abdullahi Mohammed, popularly called Abdullahi Farmajo, garnered a total number of 110 electoral votes, totaling 33.95% of the votes. Like I said earlier, the elections were first scheduled to end on the 24th day in the month of December 2021, but unfortunately it could not be held, and they kept postponing and postponing. They postponed up until January 2022. It could not hold. They postponed to 25th of February 2022. It could not hold. They postponed to March 15th. It could not hold. Fortunately, they also postponed up until March 31. It could not hold, and finally it held on the 15th day in the month of May 2022. And congratulations to Hassan Sheikh Mohammed for emerging victorious in that particular election. Okay, a quick trip to Somalia. We'll get to listen to the short voice of the president that has just been elected in that country, and we'll get to listen to the voice of some jubilant Somalians actually come out to make their excitement known to the media.
My country needs to work forward and not go backward, and it doesn't need violence and revenge. Whatever was done to people, we call for forgiveness.
I came here to celebrate the win of the 8th president and now the 10th president. I congratulate him. Somalia is at peace with itself and with the world. I can't express in words how happy I am. God willing, I am very, very happy. Tonight I would say, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, I love you.
Okay, yeah, once again, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed are elected as the president of Somalia, and of course he's gonna take mantle immediately. Yeah, this program is being streamed live right now on the official Facebook fan page of King FM 103.9. So of course you might probably want to put a face to the voice you are hearing right now. Head to our Facebook page, King FM 1039 Ibadan. Of course, like the page, follow us and become part of the family. And of course, you see me do this live right now, and you get exclusive access to the different programs that I've actually aired. And of course, you also get notifications of programs airing on this platform. This is Word in Review. King 103.9 FM is the station we are tuned into right now. And of course, my name is Ajibola Samuel. Of course, quite a lot of stories to still bring forward today. Okay, over the past couple of weeks, we've been reporting cases of diseases outbreak endemics across different African countries. Well, at some point we had measles actually break out in Cameroon. We had cholera in some part of Africa, and Ebola also, of course, broke out again the 14th time in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Unfortunately, that seems not to have stopped right now, as earlier this week another country actually declares, a case or wide polio. Yeah, Mozambique actually becomes the second African country to announce a case of white polio after confirming Mozambique becomes once again the second African country to report this year to report a case of white polio virus after confirming that a child who began experiencing onset of paralysis in March had contracted the disease. Malawi, a neighboring country, actually reported Africa's first case of wild polio in more than 5 years in February. So Malawi, like I said, reported polio earlier this year. We've also seen cases of measles in Cameroon. We've seen cases of cholera across different African states in this particular year. And of course, we've also seen some viruses springing its head up. And of course, like I said, like I've been saying on different editions of this show, past editions, of course, all these endemics and of course viruses springing up have been attributed to different cases of climate change and of course the activities of human being. Okay, moving on. Genetic testing linked both cases to a strain of polio virus that circulated in Pakistan in 2019. Because the cases are considered imported, Africa would not lose the polio-free status it's achieved in 2020 after going 4 years without a locally acquired polio case. The detection of another case of wild polio virus in Africa is greatly concerning, even if it is unsurprising given the recent outbreak in Malawi. However, it shows how dangerous the virus is and how quickly it can spread. And Dr. Mosquito Bites, who happens to be the regional director for WHO in Africa, said in a statement. So, polio actually joins the list of the different viruses that are actually springing its head across different African states. And of course, probably when I get to the world scene or I get outside of Africa, it might interest you to know that polio, ravaging right now is not only happening in Africa. It is currently, eating some parts of Europe and of course even the Americas right now. But let's take a quick trip outside of this studio right now and get to listen to developments from Mozambique.
Case of polio is enough to make us declare this a public health emergency. Considering that's also important, this must have been spreading within our country, within our continent.
Okay, moving forward quickly. Last week on the show, militants, Islamist militants, actually attacked a prison facility in Burkina Faso, releasing all the inmates that are presently in that prison. And if you remember last week on the show, I told you, of course, a coup actually happened in that country earlier this year, and the military junta that planned that coup blamed the civilian president, saying they are incapacitated as regards the curbing of Islamist insurgents attacking some parts of that particular country. So they toppled a civilian government because they believe the government is actually, not fighting the Islamist insurgents enough, and they believe, a military personnel coming on board will be able to provide everything necessary to actually win the war against terrorism and, of course, Islamist insurgency in some parts of Burkina Faso. But unfortunately, it has not actually augured well in that country. Like I said earlier, there was an attack on a prison facility in that particular country. Just this last week, I reported it on the show, and all the inmates in prison were actually released. All of them are at large right now. Well, bad news from Burkina Faso. Around 40 people, many of them civilian volunteers with the army, have been killed in suspected jihadist attack in Burkina Faso. Local sources and security officials actually made this known on Monday. In the northern region of Sahel, around 25 people were killed in 2 assaults on Saturday, including 13 members of the VDP volunteers, a leader of the force actually told AFP. In Kompienga, near Burkina Faso's eastern border with Togo and Benin, about 15 civilians were killed on Saturday when their convoy was attacked under VDP escort, a security source said in the region. A local inhabitant said 3 VDP volunteers also died in this attack and called for help for the wounded, which he said numbered nearly a dozen. In another raid overnight Saturday, assailants carried out a coordinated attack on police and gendarmes posts in Faramana near the frontier with Mali, causing 2 wounded. A security force actually made this known to newsmen. And one of the poorest countries in the world, Burkina Faso, has actually been battered by jihadist raids since 2015. And like I said earlier, Colonel Paul Henry Sandago Damiba actually, planned a coup earlier this year, actually deposing the civilian government in a bid to actually put a stop to this jihadist attack. But unfortunately, seems not to be rosy even for the military government, as the attack seems not to have stopped. Just earlier last week, like I said, a raid on the prison facility, and over the course of this week, series of attacks being carried out across different locations, civilians being murdered in their numbers, and of course members of the security forces also being murdered. Pray for Burkina Faso right now and pray that they overcome this insurgents battle that they are facing in their country. Okay, where should we go next? Oh, in Ethiopia. Yeah, some Ethiopians are actually claiming in the Tigrayan region that they are being forcefully conscripted into the army and the Tigrayan forces to actually fight, against the federal government. Authorities in Ethiopia's war-shattered Tigray regions are forcing young people to join their army's fight against the central government by threatening and jailing relatives, according to captured fighters and residents. The war in the northern Ethiopia since late 2020 has killed thousands of civilians and uprooted millions, triggering famine and devastating infrastructures, though it had garnered less attention globally than the other conflicts, especially the war we have in Ukraine. And the Tigrayan People Liberation Front says it is defending the region's 6 million people against subjugation by the federal government, but Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed accuses the Tigrayan party of rebelling to try to restore its grip on national government, which it dominated until its appointment in 2018. So, in a series of interviews carried out from February to May with residents of Tigrayan captured fighters and aid workers that actually provided pictures of the forced recruitment by local officials in several parts of Tigrayan region. And leaving that news quickly, let's try to talk about a news that you might find surprising. And of course, it's a new study that was carried out, and of course, the report was released earlier this week. A team of researchers from the Institut Pasteur de Bangui, the University of Montpellier, and the Centre International de Recherche Médicale de Franville has actually found out that, contrary to conventional thoughts, malaria-carrying mosquito bites happen more often during the day. In their paper published in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, the group describes their year-long study of biting mosquito in Bangui, Central African Republic, and the need for new ways to actually combat malaria in Africa. Yeah, for many years, medical workers have actually stressed the importance of protection from mosquito bites in Africa. 96% of deaths due to malaria are happening in the African countries. And of course, the method, preached include covering beds with nettings, as the prevailing wisdom actually suggests that most bites, from mosquitoes carrying malaria actually happen while people are sleeping. But sorry, ladies and gentlemen, in this new effort, the researchers actually found that these measures may not be enough, because many more bites happen when people are away from home during the day than previously thought. So of course we all know it's a regular belief, it's a popular belief that we need beddings, we need mosquito nets to actually prevent mosquito bites when we are sleeping in the night. In fact, some people believe that it is when you switch off lights in your room, that is when the mosquitoes usually have bright eyes enough to be able to come pierce your skin and of course bite you. But according to this research and the study that was released earlier this week, the researchers actually studied 4 sites around Bagu, that's in the Central African Republic. Some researchers were inside and some were outside. They did this for 48-hour periods every month over the year between June 2016 and May 2017. The researchers did not allow the mosquitoes to actually bite them, but instead they captured them after they had landed on their skin. Each pre-bite was catalogued regarding the time and the place, and each of the bugs tested to see if the malarias that landed on them were if the mosquitoes that landed on them had malaria parasites that they were carrying. So after the year had passed, the researchers analyzed the data and found out that approximately 20 to 30% of the bites that actually happens occurred during daylight hours away from home, such as when people were at work or at school. They also found that the percentage of mosquito carrying the parasites was roughly the same during the day as it was during the night. The researchers note that few mitigations efforts are currently underway to prevent bites during the day, which they suggest may contribute to many more cases of malaria than previously believed. They further suggest that more study of mosquito bites during the day is required to actually find a true extent of the problem. So ladies and gentlemen, if you generally believe that mosquito bites and that cause malaria only happen during the night, well, this research is proving, and of course statistically and empirically, that 30% of the mosquito bites that happen, and of course the mosquitoes that carries malaria, they also happen during the day. So probably this report will be good for government across board, that in order to fight malaria, we did not only focus our energy in donating mosquito nets and maybe insecticide only. We also have to focus more energy on combating the mosquitoes that bite during the day in order to prevent malaria and of course the deaths that we record on the African scene from malaria. Okay, moving forward quickly, let's leave the African continent. Time is fast spent already. Let's go to other parts of the world and of course bring you the news that emerged from there. Or should we go to the Europe right now, or we should go to the North Americas or the South Americas? Okay, let me stop with North America. Okay, we take it one step at a time. I said earlier a wide case of polio was actually detected in Malawi earlier this year, and of course Mozambique also had declared its own wide case of polio. And why I was actually reporting that news, I said, it's not only in Africa that we are reporting cases of virus spreading. There is a new outbreak of monkey pox virus, across different locations in the world right now. In the in Europe, in the North Americas, and some places that you least expected. If you hear monkey pox, what probably comes to your mind is Africa, but it might surprise you to know that there are various cases of monkeypox that have been detected in different European countries and of course in the North Americas. Okay, according to the news, Spain and Portugal have detected around 30 suspected cases of monkeypox, officials said on Wednesday, after British authorities also found several cases of the viral infection, which is actually rare in Europe. Health officials have noted some of the infections. Health officials have noted some of the infections may be through sexual contact, in this instance among gay or bisexual men, which would be a new development in the understanding of the transmission of the virus. The World Health Organization said on Tuesday it was coordinating with the UK to actually investigating the outbreak. In Portugal, 20 suspected cases of monkeypox endemic in the parts of Central and Western Africa have been detected in Lisbon region, the health minister said in a statement. The cases were all among males, the majority of them young, who had ulcerated lesions. It's actually added. That's talking about the reports that came from Portugal. In Spain, the authorities have detected 8 suspect cases of smallpox-like disease that still must be confirmed by analysis, the health ministry said. Spanish and Portuguese health authorities did not release any information on the sexual orientation of the monkeypox patients or the suspected cases. Symptoms of monkeypox in humans include lesions, fever, muscle ache, and chills. Most people actually recover from the illness within several weeks. And talking about how it transmits, it is usually via close contacts with infected animals such as rodents and monkeys, and is limited between people. It has only been fatal in rare cases. Okay, moving forward quickly, leaving Spain and of course Portugal, health authorities in Canada's Quebec province are investigating more than a dozen suspected cases of monkeypox, a rare but potentially serious virus. Public broadcaster CBC actually reported this on Wednesday. The United States also on Wednesday confirmed a case of monkeypox in a man who had recently traveled to Canada after European health authorities confirmed dozens of cases earlier this week. Yeah, in the neighboring United States, Massachusetts health authorities and the CDC confirmed the country's first case this year on Wednesday. And the case posed no risks to public and the individual is hospitalized in good condition, the Massachusetts Department of Health actually said in a statement. So I've counted how many countries now. I've counted mentioned Spain, mentioned Portugal, mentioned the United Kingdom. I've mentioned, of course, Canada and the United States right now. Okay, a quick trip outside of the studio right now. I will get to take a trip to Massachusetts, get to listen to developments as regarding monkeypox in the United States, ladies and gentlemen.
What we're looking at here is a number of studies that are ongoing to better understand, number one, the extent of circulation of monkeypox in London among communities with men of sex with men, and making sure that testing is occurring, that isolation of men or people who are suspected of having monkeypox are isolated and that they receive the appropriate clinical care.
Okay, there's a report flying on the pages of the newspapers and of course on the internet that the cases that monkeypox have been found is actually rampant in men that are gay or men that had sexual intercourse with other males. Of course, this is not actually proven empirically, but of course studies are being ventured into right now, and of course they are trying as much as possible to connect the dots between gay men and the outbreak in monkeypox in Europe and of course the North Americas right now. I wouldn't say more than that. We'll wait for more development to be released before we actually come out to comprehensively make a statement about the connection between these. But of course, in what I've been reading all day, you would probably have had me hint to of course point to the fact that this case is to a very large extent rampant in gay men, and of course you add from that voice excerpt of the health representative of Massachusetts in the United States also laying claim to that. Also, I would have loved to play the voice excerpt from one of the health representative in the United Kingdom, also more like lay a credence to what I've just said. But we'll move forward quickly, and of course we await more developments from these stories, and of course we'll come out to comprehensively give you reports. Okay, last week Saturday, A white 18-year-old young man wearing military gear and live streaming with a helmet camera actually opened fire with a rifle at a supermarket in Buffalo in the United States of America. He killed 10 people, wounded 3 others. It happened on Saturday in what authorities are presently describing right now as a racially motivated violent extremism. Police said he shot 11 black people and 2 white people victims. He shot 11 black and 2 white victims before surrendering to authorities in a rampage which he broadcasted live on streaming platform Twitch. He later appeared before a judge in paper medical gown and was arraigned on murder charge. So it was said that this suspected gunman is been identified as President Gendron. He's from New York. He actually drove about 200 miles, that's talking about 320 kilometers southeast of Buffalo, to actually carry out this attack. He's a white man, wore an helmet and kitted up himself like he's going for war, and of course attached a camera to the helmet that he wore. He was live streaming this horrific incident that happened. Gunned down about 3 people in the hallway in the parking lot before making his way into the supermarket and kept on firing rounds and rounds of ammunitions. At the end of the day, he succeeded in killing about 10 people and of course injuring about 3 other people. And of course, after he had done this, he surrendered to the police. Okay, we'll take a quick trip outside of studios once again, go to United States of America and help, understand what actually transpired on Saturday at Buffalo when President Gendron actually attacked the top supermarket in Buffalo. Okay, let's take a quick trip outside of the studios right now. And we get to listen to the voice of the police actually give us an update. Okay, before we listen to the voice of the police, let's listen to some eyewitnesses. And of course, the Attorney General of that particular of the United States actually come out, to us. Let's listen to what they have to say about this particular incident.
And I heard a gunshot that I knew was a gunshot and not a firecracker. I heard them shooting at people, and then I saw 3 people laying down, and I didn't have a phone on me. So I was just screaming for somebody to call the police.
She felt him walk past her. She heard him, because there are people who died at Easy Scan. One person was killed where she would have been standing, where we were standing. The assistant manager was killed where I was standing. And the other person she saw shot and killed was where she was standing when this all started. We, of course, were moved at that moment so that he wouldn't hear her breathing. And the security guard, he saved us. He perished, but he saved us. If we didn't see him.
It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's hard to even muster. It's unbelievable.
I never thought in my lifetime, at my age, that I would live to see something like this in my community.
The United States Attorney's Office will be investigating this case along with our law enforcement partners as a hate crime and domestic violent extremism. We will not stop until justice is brought to this community, those families, and the victims of this horrific crime.
Okay, you listen to the voice of the representative of the United States, attorney, actually coming out of, talk about what they have in plans. Oh, time is fast spent already. Another quick trip to Buffalo in the United States, and we'll get to, listen to the voice of the police representative actually give us reports of the incidents that happened.
He exited his vehicle. He was very heavily armed. He had tactical gear. He had a tactical helmet on. He had a camera that he was live streaming what he was doing. A hero in our eyes. Engaged the suspect, fired multiple shots, struck the suspect, but because he had heavily armored plating on, that bullet had no round. The suspect engaged our retired officer, and he was ultimately shot and deceased at the scene. He worked his way back towards the front of the store. Buffalo police immediately respond, engage the suspect in the vestibule of the store, and at that point the suspect put the gun to his own neck. Buffalo police personnel, 2 patrol officers, talked the suspect into dropping the gun. He dropped a gun, took off some of it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you listen to the representative of the police actually recounting what's transpired at the top supermarkets in Buffalo. Time is fast spent already. I've got news from Russia. Of course, the Russia taking over the port city, Mariupol of Ukraine. And unfortunately, time would not allow me to take that particular story. In the wake, Sweden and Finland, who also happen to be, neighbors of Russia, are actually, planning to join NATO. And as it stands right now, Sweden and Finland formally applied to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's talking about NATO, ending decades of neutrality and marking massive shifts in Europe's security landscape. Yeah, Finland and Sweden's ambassador to NATO, Klaus Åkerman and Arsene Wendorf, have handed in their applications to actually join the bloc to NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg at the alliance headquarters in Brussels on Wednesday morning. And both countries, which stayed militarily non-aligned throughout the Cold War and beyond, made their decision after Russia's invasion of Ukraine began. And Finland actually shares a long border with Russia, and Sweden also borders Finland. Okay, right now Finland and Sweden have handed in their application to actually join NATO. A quick trip outside of the studios once again. I'll come back to sign off.
I warmly welcome the requests by Finland and Sweden to join NATO. You are our closest partners, and your membership in NATO would increase our shared security. The applications you have made today are an historic step. Allies will now consider the next steps on their path to NATO. The security interests of all allies.
Okay, that's the voice of NATO General Secretary. His name Jens Stoltenberg, actually receiving, the application of Sweden and Finland to officially join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Time is fast spent once again. I also got news, like I said, from Russia, the taking over of Mariupol. Also, Russia, in retaliation to this, have actually suspended sending electricity to Finland, and also to mark the silver jubilee of Queen. About 8 cities are said to actually get new names. To mark the platinum jubilee, 8 new cities are created in the Queen's honor in England, and of course Milton Keynes in England, Dunfermline in Scotland, Bangor in Northern Ireland, and of course Wrexham in Wales all get this title. And of course in the overseas territory, Colchester and Doncaster also get this title. Talking about in the Isles of Man, and of course Stanley in the Falkland also get the title of new cities. My name is Hajibullah Samuel. I have to get myself out of the studios right now. It was a very big pleasure doing today's edition. Join me same time next week for another exciting edition. Have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. Stay safe. Au revoir.